What's happening, everyone? Welcome to Gameball NFL Endzone podcast, where the football season never ends. I'm your host, Michael O'Reilly, and I got my co-host, Marcus Young, Jenkins Genius, and we're going to talk about Week 1 of the NFL season. It's finally here after all this time and waiting. Week 1 is here. What we got to talk about today?
Football fans, it is time to rejoice. We're going to get into finally the Week 1, the first week of the NFL season, like you just mentioned. We're going to talk about Oakland versus Tennessee going into the first matchup. Now, the Oakland Raiders, they finished with a stellar 2016. They finished second in the AFC West and finishing with a 12-4 post as well. They eventually went on to lose 27-14 in a wild card matchup to the Houston Texans. The Tennessee Titans finished second in the AFC South, finishing with a mark of 9-7. They missed the playoffs, however, they did receive 4 Pro Bowlers, and they tripled their record from 2015. Now, these two met a year ago on September the 25th. Oakland was victorious in that game over the Tennessee Titans, 10-17. Oakland's defense played spectacular in that game, forcing 3 turnovers against the Tennessee Titans. So what I want to know, Mike, what can you tell us that makes this matchup intriguing this time around?
Well, for what you said last season, it was a close game, but Oakland came away with the win. And this time around, Tennessee is looking for payback and learn from the mistakes of what could we done better on offense and defense in the last 2 minutes of the game to win that game. Oakland had 3 turnovers, and that's what caused Tennessee Titans to lose that game. But I think this season, with the acquisitions of good players that came in for free agency to Tennessee to help them out, especially on defense, and you have on the offensive side, you still got DeMarco Murray, who balled out last year, who had over 1,000 yards. Then you got Marcus Mariota, who started coming to his own, and he's entered his 3rd season. He's more comfortable with the offense. He's very poised, and he's more of a leader now because when he first came in, he was kind of that quiet guy, and he had to come out naturally to be a leader. But once you get more comfortable in the system, he's more of a leader now, and you also acquire talent to help Marcus Mariota, especially on the receiver side. And the kid that they drafted out of Western Michigan, I like this Corey Davis kid. I think his name Corey Davis or something like that. Out of Central Michigan, this kid is a big-time baller. He's real physical. He can block well in the running game. In the passing game, he's just another level. He kind of reminds me of that physical type of Dez Bryant. And he can also go out to compete for the ball and take away from defenders. That's what you want. So I really like this matchup, and I can't wait for it. It's going to be another dogfight, but whoever has the ball last is going to win this game in Week 1.
Well, with that being said, so this is definitely one matchup that you definitely want to keep your eye out for this weekend, going into Week 1 of the NFL season. So you definitely expect this to be like it was last year. Do you think it's going to be defensive-minded like it was? It was a very low-scoring game last year. You kind of expect the same results?
I expect the same results a little bit, but it could get interesting. It could be like a 10-point lead or a 2-touchdown lead. We'll have to see who has the ball last and who makes the fewer mistakes, because the team who has the balls last and makes fewer mistakes is going to win this game.
So we're going to start with the Oakland Raiders. What do you think the key to success would be for them to defeat Tennessee this time?
Well, they acquired Marshawn Lynch, and we don't know if he's in football shape or what can he do, because he's been out of football for almost 2 years. So we need to see if he's that Marshawn Lynch of that beast mode. You can just hand him the ball, he'll just pound the rock. You have the 2nd best offensive lineman to the Dallas Cowboys. So with Oakland, I would run the ball, and you can take some shots down the field with the pass game, all that, but you don't want to risk Derek Carr getting injured again. And plus, he just signed a new big money contract for $125 for the next 5 years, so you want to protect the quarterback.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't want to take that chance of getting hurt again. You can still pass the ball maybe like 25 or 30 times, probably get about 200-300 yards, but just keep the rock pounded and melt that clock. That's what you want to do. Wear down the defense and get them on their heels and make them hold their breath and all that stuff. And once you do that, then you start wearing them down as you start to get the clock running and all that. Also, you got to get Amari Cooper involved early. Amari Cooper had a little down year, but if you get him going and all that, that'll get the passing game going and be more explosive. And I also like the addition of Jared Cook from the Green Bay Packers, the tight end, who can also make big plays for the Oakland Raiders offense. So if the offense makes less few mistakes like they did last time against Tennessee, they'll win this game. But my only concern with Oakland's offense is their defense, because they still have a suspect defense. Yeah, they drafted a cornerback position and all that, but Khalil Mack is basically a whole defense. He's a one-man wrecking crew, and he needs help. You gotta get help from Bruce Irvin, the other pass rushers. If the front seven can able to generate a pass rush and be able to stop the run against Tennessee Titans smash mouth offense, then they can do some things. But if Oakland's defense can hold their own, then I can see them winning this game. But it all comes down to the fourth quarter. If Oakland's defense can hold Tennessee Titans offense for the last few minutes or so, then they can win this game. So that's the keys for Oakland to win this game.
I like their keys. It definitely seems like they have a lot of key additions, of course, outside of course, Beast Mode coming out of retirement after, like you said, almost 2 years. We'll see if he still is in that football shape like you were talking about. So we're going to flip on the other side of the coin, and we're going to talk about the Tennessee Titans. What do you think the Titans have to do to beat Oakland?
Well, the Tennessee Titans, same similarity to Oakland, for winning this game, they have to run the ball effectively on the offensive side. And I like this young Tennessee Titans team. They can really make some noise, and they address the stuff that they need to address on offense and defense, and they just keep pounding the rock. And if Marcus Mariota can limit the mistakes that he had against Oakland from last season, which I think he will, then they'll be able to win this game. So they need to be consistent in the passing game, take some small shots here and there, and once you get it going, that and generate and open up a bigger playbook in the passing game for the receivers to make more plays down the field and stretch the field and get first downs and continue to milk the clock and all that. So offensively, they got to step up this time, and they can't afford turnovers. If you get Oakland Raiders a chance to make plays on defense, 1 or 2 turnovers, it could cost you the game. So Tennessee Titans just need to eliminate the turnovers, eliminate the penalties, and they should be fine. Now for the defense for the side, I really like this defense and the additions that they add, especially the cornerback spot with former Patriot corner Logan Ryan, who they recently signed this offseason, and also another playmaker to go along with that defense. So if they can be physical, and their front seven can be physical against Oakland's good offensive alignment, which I think they can penetrate, get to the backfield, stop the run, and force them to beat you by passing the ball. Because we all know Derek Carr is a gunslinger, but sometimes gunslinging can also get you into trouble. So if Tennessee defense can able to put a lot of pressure and force Oakland to beat them in the passing game and stop Marshawn Lynch in the running game, they'll have a chance to win it.
Now, staying on the side of the Tennessee Titans, one thing I want to ask you in your opinion, good quarterbacks, same thing with Andrew Luck. You can tell he's still in his developing stages. You see Marcus Mariota kind of getting over that sophomore slump. Do you think this is his breakout season?
Oh, most definitely. I think he'll be able to have a breakout season. My prediction, he'll be close to the 3,500-yard passing to 4,000-yard passing range. Say about 20, 25 touchdowns. I say about 8 picks. So this would be Marcus Mariota's breakout year because he's more comfortable in the offense now. He's taking more command. He's knowing his reads better. He's learned to not be afraid to throw a check down. You can always throw a check down to the running back, and the running back can make the plays for you. So I could see him with consistency. And during the preseason, that's what he was doing. He was throwing the check downs. He's learned to be mature at the quarterback position. So there's more room to grow, but I see him having a breakout year this year.
I definitely agree with that. So definitely look out for Oakland versus Tennessee. From the likes of it and the way they displayed last year, I definitely agree with Mike. This is definitely one to look out for this coming weekend. We're going to move on to the second matchup of the four. We're going to talk about the Colts against the now Los Angeles Rams, of course, previously in St. Louis. The Colts last year in 2017, they finished third in the AFC South, finishing at 8-8 and missing the playoffs. The Rams third in the NFC West and finishing at a mere 4-12. So with that being said, what makes this matchup intriguing?
Well, this is about pride, because last year both of them had losing seasons, and plus Andrew Luck is still on the PUP list to where if he's going to play week 1 or not, because he's coming off an injury. And one of the weakest things for the Colts offense last year, because they have a lack of offensive linemen, they had a lack of depth there. They couldn't protect Andrew Luck for his life. They about had to call 911 every single time where the defensive players was coming at him, and he was just taking a brutal beating. I'm like, this is your franchise quarterback. You have to protect him and all that. With this offseason, with changing the management department is gone, especially Gritson. He should have never had the general manager spot from the beginning because he did not address the offensive line needs. So with him being gone, then you got the new general manager coming in. He understood what the offense needs is, the offensive line to protect Andrew Luck. So they addressed the offensive line. They still got good weapons on the outside. T.Y. Hilton's still balling. And Frank Gore, he's getting up to age, but he's still playing like he's a 23-year-old rookie. He's still balling, still got a lot of gas left in this tank and all that. If the offensive line can gel and play together and protect the quarterback, whoever's going to be the quarterback for the coach, because it sounds like Andrew Luck won't be playing in week 1 for what I was hearing. So if they can do that, they can find a way to win this game. And for defense, the defense has to stay healthy, because last year they was dealing with injuries here and there. You have every other player injured on different weekly basis. So if the Colts defense can stay healthy, they'll be able to make some plays to help this team to win the game. And from the Los Angeles Chargers standpoint, oh man, it was just terrible for him last year. You had Jeff Fisher, who has not been to the playoffs almost in a decade, and he signs an extension, but the owner realized he needs to be fired, so you got that problem solved. Then you got a new young coach coming in, and he's offensive minded, and we'll see what he can do with this offense, especially the second-year quarterback that they drafted last year with the first pick overall. So if they can get him going and give him some confidence going, then they'll be all right. And they addressed the wide receivers spot, because they traded for Sammy Watkins. That was huge to get him, because if Sammy Watkins can stay healthy, he's a top 15 receiver. This boy can ball when healthy. So that the offensive line can protect the quarterback better, and if the receivers can stay healthy and help him out, then I see them having a decent season. I can see them making it interesting in a game against the Colts. Then you also have the defensive side. You need to get Aaron Donald back in camp, whatever. He's holding out due to his contract. You can't blame the man for holding out. He's like one of the top 5 best defensive players, and he's underpaid. Look what J.J. Watt is getting paid. Von Miller is getting paid, and so on and so on. And you expect him to play for $1.3 or $1.4 million this season?
Yeah,
and you know how dangerous this game is? Why not? You can't blame the man for holding out. So if the Rams can find a way to pay this man and get him back on the field, that would be huge for the Rams defense, because Aaron Donald is basically the Rams defense. He can get to the backfield, penetrate, stop the run, and he's one of the underrated pass rushers for his height. He can get to the quarterback like it ain't nothing. So you have to find a way to take care of him. And also you trade away one of your best corners too. So the secondary might be an issue. And we'll see about the front seven. If the front seven can step up and play good on defense, and the secondary can be consistent and not make foolish penalty plays and all that, then they'll be fine.
So staying on board with the Colts for a minute, of course dealing with injury problems for starters, like you just mentioned, Andrew Luck being out of week 1 in this matchup against the Rams. So with that being said, what adjustments do you think they need to make in order to win this game against
the coaching staff of the coach, especially the head coach Chuck Pagano, whoever is in the quarterback spot for the coach, just need to keep it plain and simple. Just run the ball, take time off the clock, and have like some consistent passing routes, slants, checkdowns here and there. And every now and then you might take a shot down the field, but you need to be consistent with the play calling, whoever's quarterbacking in week 1 against Los Angeles Rams. If you can have consistently play calling, then the coach can win this game. So be consistent. Don't do nothing too fancy. Just make it manageable enough for the quarterback to complete some pass, make some plays, and be able to win you this game. If you can do that, I'll say the coach can win.
All right, so we're going to switch it over to the Los Angeles Rams. What do you think they have to do to triumph over the Colts?
Well, they have to get Todd Gurley going for the running game, because last year Todd Gurley had a down year. If they could get him going with the running game and take the pressure off the quarterback, and so you won't have to rely on the passing game, then that's a start. Also, we want to see what this young coach that they got in the offseason be in the play calling, so we'll see what he does and all that. They say he's one of the upcoming offensive gurus, but we'll see that with his first full coach in the actual game, so we'll just see what happens.
So it's definitely this could be a contest in which, almost similar, do you think, to the Tennessee Titans and the Oakland Raiders, kind of a potential last possession type of matchup? It seems like something that, of course, there's a little adversity on the Colts side, of course, being without their leader for the first week. But it seems like something that it could still be kind of like a drag-out matchup. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it could be a drag-out. But whoever makes more plays than other teams is going to win this game. And be mistake-free, eliminate turnovers, and which other team's defense will capitalize on the other team's mistakes and turnovers. One of them is going to decide the winner of this game.
We'll see how the Colts fare without their leader, so it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup. We're going to move on to the third matchup. I am actually a huge fan of this matchup. I think this might be the heavyweight fight of the week. I definitely see why you chose this one. The third matchup we're going to talk about is the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Green Bay Packers.
Ooh, in Lambeau Field.
That's the head.
This game could be a preview for the NFC Championship match. NFC Championship. This could be a preview, but we'll find out. But I'm excited for this matchup.
Absolutely. And of course, dating back to 2016, the Seattle Seahawks finished 10-5-1, finishing first in the NFC West before eventually losing to the eventual NFC champion Atlanta Falcons 20-36 in the divisional playoffs. The Green Bay Packers, however, they finished 10-6-1, finished first in the NFC North. They would actually lose to the Atlanta Falcons as well, coincidentally, 21-44 after being routed in the NFC Championship. However, these two teams met a year ago on December the 11th, and
cold weather game.
Yes, and Green Bay routed the Seahawks 38-10.
That was real.
So you definitely got to tell me what you think about this matchup.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. This won't be a repeat of the 38-10. It'll be a lot closer than what you think. And because Seattle didn't have all their playmakers on the defense, especially when they lost Earl Thomas. When they lost Earl Thomas, you saw a totally different defense on Seattle. Because when you have a playmaker caliber like Earl Thomas, who can stop a run in the box and who can also make plays in coverage, when he's available, they're the best defense. When he's not, they drop off. So having him coming back healthy, you also have Cam Chancellor coming back healthy, and you gave him a contract extension. That was a big deal for his defense. And you also have one of the best corners of the game, Rich Sherman, does what he does, and you also re-sign Michael Benton to a 3-year contract. That was huge for them, keeping everybody together intact and keep that Legion of Boom defense going like we're accustomed to seeing. So if this defense can stay healthy, it could get a lot closer than a 38-10 blowout from the last season. And from the offensive side of the ball, my concern with the Seattle Seahawks offense is their offensive line, because their lack was protecting Russell Wilson in the pocket during the passing game, because Russell Wilson never been injured or suffered an injury hardly until last season, because there was an inconsistency where the pass protection calling and all this other stuff. He suffered a sprained knee and a sprained ankle at the same time. So if you can keep him healthy and keep him upright and clean, then the Seattle Seahawks offense can make some noise. But the devastating blow that they lost was the offensive left tackle, who was lost to an ACL tear. That was a devastating blow for the Seattle Seahawks offensive line, because they had high hopes for him to take over that starting job, which he won, he earned. But with that devastating blow to the ACL injury, that was huge for the Seattle Seahawks offensive line. But they still have Tom Cable, one of the best offensive line coaches in the game. So he can make some adjustments here and there and throw some wrinkles out and keep it consistent and keep it simple for the other person to step up in that tackle spot. And they also acquired Eddie Lacy, which is huge, but he's not Marshawn Lynch like he was, but Eddie Lacy's still that pounder guy. You just got to keep his weight down and just be able to ball out. If he can do that, then he'll have success in the run again. Also, you have Tyler Lockett coming back off a gruesome injury. It was just terrible, but he's coming back, and if he can stay healthy, and he can make some plays, because that kid is dangerous. He can make plays on offense, especially on the special teams when you need him. And also, Jimmy Graham has to step up this year, because he has some inconsistent couple years, in my opinion. If Jimmy Graham can step up and be that tight end like he once was in New Orleans, this offense can be lethal this year. So I'm looking forward to this matchup. I can't wait.
Now, it definitely seems like this will be a quarterback duel between Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. One thing I want to know is this going to be one on the ground or in the air, or do you think that the defense on either one of these sides is going to be the deciding factor of whoever wins this football?
Well, it could decide by the defense on the last minute play. Whoever has the ball last and whoever can make the key stop on 3rd down or 4th down, get a key turnover, that will determine the winning game. Because it's not, like I was alluding to, it's not going to be a 38-10, even though it's in Lambeau. I'll say at the last minute, it could be a late field goal to win it, or it could be a defensive stop. So, I'm going to go to the Packers offense. Last season, the Packers offense was devastated with injuries left and right, just beat up and lost some playmakers, but they were still able to put up points and score points to run the table, like Aaron Rodgers said, to win the division and get as far as the NFC Championship with injury guys who just couldn't stay healthy. But on the defensive side, that was the biggest concern for the Green Bay Packers, because they lost corners after corners due to injuries for the whole year. They couldn't stay healthy. You basically had to get people off the street to play the position so they could try to help. Also, they was getting ate up on the middle part of the safety. And this season, the draft, they addressed another pass rusher. In my opinion, they should address, and also, they addressed the cornerback spot, getting one of the corners from Washington. And he's a big-time playmaker, so he's a rookie coming in. I like him a lot, and he needs to step up and be that player for the Green Bay Packers secondary. And if the Green Bay Packers secondary can stay healthy, and the front seven can also stay healthy, then they'll be in this game to win it. And also, Jordy Nelson, he can have a big season, because he's coming off an ACL tear, and he started getting the stride back and his burst back, because coming off an ACL tear, it takes about 1 to 2 years to fully get healed. So I started seeing him get a little bursted back a little bit and all that. If they can get him going, get Randall Cobb going in the slot, and you got Devontae Adams who's on the come up, who had a good season last year. If those three can continue to step up and play on the offensive side, they'll do some damage. They also acquired a big body tight end from the New England Patriots, Martellus Bennett. This is huge. 6'6", 6'7". He can block down the field, and he can also stretch the field in the middle and make plays. So if we get him going, this offense can be back to the offense like it was. But I'm not concerned about the offense. I'm just concerned about the defense. If the defense can ball out and stay healthy and play to their potential, which I think they can, then they'll be successful in stopping Seattle Seahawks from scoring a lot of points.
So it's definitely, this is without a question, I think this is more than likely going to be the primetime NBC matchup, Sunday night NFL America matchup, without a question. If you're Seattle, what do you think needs to be done in order to go into a tough place like Lambeau Field and come out with a victory?
Well, first off, the front seven needs to keep Aaron Rodgers contained in their pocket, because Aaron Rodgers, he's like one of them rare quarterbacks. He can throw on the run. He can run when he needs to for first downs, and he just can make plays outside the pocket. He can make plays inside the pocket, outside the pocket. When he needs to run for a first down, he can make plays with his feet. He's just a natural quarterback. So if they can get like another linebacker to spy on him and keep him contained in the pocket and let the secondary do what they do best. But if you let Aaron Rodgers break containment, it's over. So the front seven has to keep Aaron Rodgers contained. We all know they're going to stop the run. But the key question is, can they keep Aaron Rodgers contained in the pocket from making big plays? If they can do that, Seattle can win this game. It's tough to keep a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers contained in the pocket. But if they can do that, Seattle wins this game.
So now we're going to talk about Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Now we're going to move on to our fourth and final matchup, which would be the New York Giants taking on the Dallas Cowboys. The New York Giants, last year in 2016, they finished second in the NFC East. They won both their matchups against the Dallas Cowboys. They finished 11-5 on the season, and they would lose to Green Bay in the wild card round, 39-13. The Dallas Cowboys had a stellar 2016. I think a surprise season, if you would agree, for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Finishing 13-3. They did lose in the divisional playoffs, 31-34. They did, however, in 2016, they acquired 7 Pro Bowlers, as well as having 5 All-Pro name selections, all being first team, including Dak Prescott and running back Ezekiel Elliott. But the question that I have is, the Cowboys actually have a lot of adversity going into this matchup. Of course, you know that Ezekiel Elliott's out serving a 6-game suspension, so of course he'll be absent in game 1. And then just to make things worse, they're also without a starting linebacker in Chris Hitchens, who is out with an injury, and he's expected to miss 8 weeks. So going into this matchup, why would you still think this matchup in particular would still be intriguing?
Well, before Ezekiel Elliott got suspended for 6 games, it was intriguing because it's the head-to-head matchup. It's that hatred rivalry, the New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys. Everybody hates America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, which I think they don't deserve a title, but that's a subject for the different day. But let's get into it. Last year, the New York Giants swept the Cowboys in the NFC East. That was the only team who beat them twice in 2-0 sweep. Then the Cowboys was looking to come and avenge losses and this and that. But the offseason, on the defensive side, they lost all their defensive backs starting either by letting them go or cutting them. So the secondary is still in question. You also have the kid that they drafted out of Notre Dame. Is he going to be fully recovered from his knee injury? And you also have Hitchens, who's going to miss some time, 8 weeks. My opinion, he might miss the whole season. And you also have players that are suspended on the defensive line spot. I'm like, what is there to say about the Dallas Cowboys? They're going to get in trouble. They're in bad luck in the making. What I mean by the Dallas Cowboys, they are in bad luck in the making, is that some good goes for them, for to win the game or whatever. Then there's that little black cat you see in the Pet Sematary movies, comes out and just cursed the Dallas Cowboys from winning the game or having off the field issues like people stealing cologne and all this other stuff, people getting caught with weed, and you also have this Ezekiel Elliott on a serious note dealing with domestic violence issues, which he was never charged for it, but the NFL did their own investigation and they say like you're guilty and all this other stuff and decided to suspend him. So now you got all this going on for the Dallas Cowboys, and Jason Garrett, he just needs to step up to Jerry Jones and tell him, let me coach this team and you be an owner. And that's why I think it's the biggest problem for the Dallas Cowboys. There's all this stuff going on and all of that, and they don't have true leaders to mentor their players. I mean, they have some leaders in Des Bryant and Dak Prescott, Jason Witten, and Cole on the defensive part to help him out. Not Cole, but Sean Lee to help him out. But you gotta have all voices to mentor. You gotta have that veteranship. You can't have 4 players to lead the team. You gotta have everybody doing it. So if you can do that, then there wouldn't be in the situation. But I think suspended Ezekiel Elliott could be the best thing that's happened to him, because every time he gets to an incident or this other stuff, he just gets slapped on the wrist here and there. But by suspending him, he actually makes him think and be more conscious. So this could be a close game, or this could get real ugly.
Now the question I do have is, with the whole suspension thing, of course it's also being appealed by the Players Association. Do you think that this will overturn? You think he's going to stay with that suspension?
They're going to stay with a 6-game suspension, because last time they was supposed to serve a 6-game suspension, it was that Ray Rice situation. And they only gave him 2 games instead of 6 games. You heard all this outrage about the NFL, and they took a big hit and got criticized, and it was a very ugly situation. So they trying to learn from it and trying to deal with it better, and giving them 6 games. They have to stick with the 6 games, even though Ezekiel Elliott trying to show some fight and clear his name, but you still need to give him 6 games. This 6 games is not getting overturned. It's going to be upheld.
Do you think that, I mean, not to get off subject, but do you think with the whole Deflategate issue, and you saw how the NFL for years literally took the fight to Tom Brady, even though he won appeals and won appeals, do you think that maybe Ezekiel Elliott maybe should have learned from that and just right along just took that suspension and just said, I have to serve these 6 games and move on to play?
Well, yes, in a way, but he's still showing that he's innocent and all this other stuff, that he's willing to go the distance. But the owners have pockets, deep pockets, and pay these lawyers to prepare for the players. So if I'm Ezekiel Elliott, I just have to swallow my pride and take the 6-game suspension, take some domestic abuse classes, even though you say you didn't do it, but still take some classes and learn from it, and go out to the community and help people who've been victims of domestic abuse. So that would be the thing I would do, is just take a loss on the 6-game suspension, because you're going to be serving 6-game suspension, and just get some classes and get a mentor to help you out. And if he can do that, he can be a better person and also a better player, but he'll be a better person more than a better player. Let's just put that way.
I absolutely agree, and he's only going into a sophomore or his second year in the NFL, so he definitely still has the opportunity to clean up his image and still have a brilliant career, as we've seen last year that he is actually on his way to potentially being a superstar in this NFL league for a long time. We're going to get into the keys to victory for both of these teams. I want to start with the New York Giants, Mike, and I want you to tell me why what they would have to do to beat this Dallas team, even though they're vulnerable, it seems.
Well, their defense has to make plays. They still got one of the top 10 or top 15 defenses. The front seven has to be able to make plays, get off the blocks. And the secondary also has to make plays, especially against Dez Bryant, Cole Beasley. And you have to watch out for Jason Witten. Even though Jason Witten is slow, but he can still be slick and find his way open. So if they can do that, they'll be fine. I'm really not worried about on the defensive side. I'm more worried about the offensive side because they're still with some issues at the offensive line. Even though they got all these weapons in the offseason, getting Brandon Marshall, getting Evan Ingram, the tight end for Ole Miss, which he's a rookie, and Sterling Shepard's coming back. And you also had Odell Beckham is coming back after an injury scare in the preseason against Cleveland. So if they can stay healthy, if the offensive line can find a way to protect Eli Manning, then they'll be fine because the offensive line was the weakest point of the New York Giants offense. I feel like in the offseason they should focus more on the offensive line spot instead of getting all these weapons, which is okay, but you have to protect Eli Manning because this year there's a lot of pressure on Eli to deliver. So we'll see what happens. If the offensive line can hold their bargain, then New York Giants offense can make some noise.
So it definitely seems like the New York Giants definitely have a lot of advantages against the Dallas Cowboys outside of the Dallas Cowboys without two of their weapons on offense and defense respectively. We're going to, on that note, switch over to the Dallas Cowboys and dealing with the circumstances that they have. They still have a lot of talent around them. So how do they overcome this part of the season and get a big win over the Giants?
Well, they still have the best offensive line, but their running backs is not Ezekiel Elliott. Even though they got Darren Pettit, who's a veteran, and Alfred Morris, who's also a veteran, can do some things here and there, but it's still not Ezekiel Elliott. Because Ezekiel Elliott is a different type of breed of running back. He's that special kind of running back to where he's more patient and he hits the hole when the line opens up for him to compare to what Darren Pettit and Alfred Morris does. So if the running backs can step up and make plays along with the receiving core on the offense can be successful. So I'm not really worried about the offense too much. It's just the defense that concerns me. Because you got players suspended, players injured, and you really have no secondary to stop the New York Giants receiving core, especially Odell Beckham and the big body like Brandon Marshall. So if the secondary somehow, some way to able to make plays and be physical with the with the New York Giants receiving core, then they can be in it and they can make it interesting. But that's a big if for the secondary because the secondary has to step up. If the secondary step up, it'll be a lot closer game.
So this is definitely, I would say this has to be the most interesting one, just once again, just based off the circumstances. Like you were talking about on both sides of the football for the Giants and the Cowboys. We're going to move on and we're going to talk about the predictions. We're going to share our predictions with you for these top four matchups. We're going to jump back into the first matchup that we talked about, the Oakland Raiders against the Tennessee Titans. Who's your pick?
I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans because I think they have something to prove from last year's loss, and they're on up in the come up, and I think this young Tennessee Titans team can make some noise. So I'm going with the Tennessee Titans to win this game 23-20, close game.
I agree this is going to be a close game. I think this one for me is kind of tough because you would think on paper that the Oakland Raiders are pretty stacked, especially on the offensive end. Of course, the return of beast mode definitely adds a lot of hype to this matchup, I think many people would say. With that being said, I'm not convinced that the Raiders have arrived yet. I'm not sold on it yet. I just feel like the Raiders at times can be inconsistent. I have to go with you as well. I like the Tennessee Titans in this matchup as well.
Well, I like their offense, but their defense concerns me because they don't have enough playmakers yet. I'll say about 1.5 to 2 years on defense. If they keep everybody on offense, Oakland can make some noise, especially in the playoffs going to a deep run.
Tennessee Titans seem like they have a lot of promise going to this season. We got a lot of football to be played. We'll see what happens. We're going to jump into the second prediction, and that is the Indianapolis Colts and the now Los Angeles Rams. Who do you like in this matchup?
Well, it's going to come down to who can be consistent on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, and who will be able to make more plays. This game is about pride. I say the Colts will have enough pride and a lot more veterans to make more plays than the Los Angeles Rams, so I'm going with the Colts to win this game. 30-20.
I'm going to side with you on this matchup as well. I'm definitely going to go with the Indianapolis Colts. I just think they just have more experience. I think Andrew Luck, I think we'll see him make a breakout year as well, in my opinion. I like the Colts. I don't know if this one's going to be as close. If I had to make a prediction, I'm going to say 28-14. I'm going to go with
that. Sounds reasonable, but I'm giving Los Angeles a body chance.
There's definitely nothing wrong with that. But we'll see what happens. I mean, they're in a new location. Of course, they're in Los Angeles, so that could add a little bit of excitement, a little more energy towards their season with it being in a new environment, especially like LA. So we'll definitely see what happens and see.
But when it comes to LA, there's a lot of pressure because there are hardcore fans who won championships because Los Angeles Rams is not the Lakers.
Right.
And other teams that can bring championships to Los Angeles. It's just the Lakers, period. But this is a lot of pressure on the Los Angeles Rams.
Maybe, just throwing it out there, maybe Magic Johnson maybe has an influence.
He needs to have an influence
on this Rams team because it's interesting because they haven't been well received in LA thus far. So it definitely seems like they kind of have to play their way into Los Angeles still.
Because when you go from St. Louis to LA, it's a different ball game. They have fans that want championships now. They're not about development. They don't want to hear that. They want chips.
Right.
Period.
So maybe they'll be after UCLA. Maybe UCLA, they're
we'll find out.
They still have to maybe make some room there. We're going to jump into the third matchup, which is Seattle taking on Green Bay. Who do you like in this matchup?
This is a tough call for me. It was one of those ones where I kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's going to be a grudge match, dogfight. But at home, I just can't go against that bad man Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to have to go with the Green Bay Packers in a very close game. Late field goal to win it. 26-24.
This is going to be a game where I'm going to make a prediction. But at the end of the day, you're going to be debating yourself. You're going to be on the edge of your seat. I feel like it's one of those questions where you kind of have, like you see in TV, where you have the two conscience, the good conscience and the bad conscience. That's kind of where I'm at with the team. It's like, well, Seattle has this, but wait, Green Bay has that. I'm going to say this is tough, but being put on the spot because I'm not to live up to my word and then talk to you guys again about the matchup, right or wrong. I'm going to say Seattle upsets Green Bay because I think that defense is just still hungry. And I think they still want to prove that they are the best defense.
And also they have something to prove on staying healthy.
Yes.
So if they can do that, they can win this game. But I can't. The Packers are at home. If their defense can be able to contain their Seattle Seahawks offense, which I think they will, and Don Capers is one of the best defensive coordinators who ever lived. So he'll come up with some schemes and all type of pressure blitzes to cause confusion for the Seattle Seahawks offense. I don't expect a blowout. I expect a very close game. But at the end of the day, that's why I say 26-24 Green Bay, because Aaron Rodgers will find a way to get them in field goal range to kick the game-winning field goal.
They do say two minds think alike, because I agree that it's going to come down to a field goal. I definitely think so. I just feel like I can envision Russell Wilson driving his team down the field. I just think that he's learned enough. We know what's happening in the Super Bowl. We know what's happened in many situations where maybe he just didn't have that experience, or maybe he just didn't have enough poise. I just think that this time around, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers wants to necessarily see Richard Sherman the first week of football. I just feel like I agree with you. It's going to be close. I definitely think it's going to live up to the hype. I like the Seahawks upsetting this. I think it's going to be 27-24, and I think you'll see Pete Carroll and company walk off that field.
Speaking of the Super Bowl that happened a couple years ago against the Patriots, if Pete Carroll can remain from making stupid play calls, which they said was the worst play calls, but in my opinion, I think was a good play call, but well executed by the defense. But here or there. But if Pete Carroll can be consistent on the play calling for offense, he'll be consistent on defense, but it's just the offense. If he doesn't do stupid play calls, get cost in the game, then Seattle can win.
It's going to be a good matchup.
This
is definitely a matchup you can talk about pretty much all week long, and still have many different facts to talk between these two teams. Two great teams nonetheless. This is definitely going to be a great matchup.
Yes, it
definitely a good call on this matchup. So definitely going to keep an eye out this weekend for that game. I'm pretty sure America will definitely be watching this game indeed. We're going to get to the fourth and final matchup, and that is the Giants versus the Cowboys. Mike, who do you have?
Well, in my audio podcast, which I did months ago, if you want to check it out on YouTube and all that, and Facebook and all that, I predicted week 1 that the Dallas Cowboys will beat the New York Giants. But my position has switched because the off-season, Ezekiel is getting suspended, other players getting suspended, injuries and all that. I'm switching my pick. I'm going with the New York Giants to win big. I'm going to say the score will be 33-17.
So basically, he's definitely choosing. He's definitely saying the Giants are going to rout the Cowboys. I'm going to say this is kind of a toss-up for me as well, because I definitely think we'll see who Dak Prescott really is as well. This is going into his second season as a quarterback. You know, you're not succeeding coming off the bench for Tony Romo, who of course he succeeded last year, and Tony Romo ultimately retired in April of this year. But this is a player that everybody knows now. This is definitely someone that he's not going to come under the spotlight and surprise everyone. He's arrived.
Alluding to your comment, I'm going to make some more points. You also have the defenses who's going to be well prepared for you to stop you in the offense, because last year he caught everybody off guard, but this year not so much. I'll say he'll have be a better quarterback, better passing yards and touchdowns with a lot more interceptions, and he is going to have a slump.
I'm going to go inside with you on this one as well. I just think that you can't beat experience. I just think that Eli Manning, especially, just the experience that he has, the return of Odell Beckham Jr., I just think that right there in itself, I think, creates problems for the Dallas Cowboys defense. I'm going to go with the Giants.
Well, if the Dallas Cowboys had Ezekiel Elliott, if he wasn't suspended, I was still leaning on towards the Dallas Cowboys, even though I don't root for the America's team, which that title should be removed from the name. That's neither or there. But I would still pick the Cowboys if Ezekiel Elliott was suspended, besides the other players' health issues and all the other field issues on defense and all that. But when you take a star player caliber like Ezekiel Elliott off the lineup, it's a big problem. And it's going to have a dramatic effect for the Dallas Cowboys offense. So that's why I'm switching my position from the Dallas Cowboys to the New York Giants. The New York Giants will win this game.
And also, like we both mentioned, Chris Hitchens, one of their key linebackers, one of their starting linebackers and defensive weapons, out for 8 weeks with an injury. I think that could also play a role in the outcome of this game. So with that being said, that is the 4 predictions for Week 1 of the NFL season. Once again, players, it is time to rejoice. All you NFL fans, the season is finally upon us. Next broadcast going into Week 2, we'll recap the matches that we talked about in last week and the outcomes, and we'll also have Mike's next top 4 picks for you to keep an eye out for in Week 2.
Also, if you want me to do a matchup that you like, you can also send me an email to that as well. You can also follow me on Facebook at Gameball College Kickoff / Gameball NFL Endzone. Follow me on YouTube, gck.gnfle. You can also hit me on the email, send me your comments and all that, and request a matchup that you'd like to talk about at gck.gnfle@gmail.com. Also on Twitter at capital Gameball, all capitalized, _MYKE. And do you have a social media where they also can follow you at?
Also follow at JoeBellENT on Twitter as well. Same thing with Instagram, JoeBellENT as well, or follow your boy on Facebook, Marcus JoeBellENT Jenkins.
Until then, I'm Michael Riley saying have a safe, blessed night and be good. This is Gameball NFL Endzone podcast where the football season never ends. Peace. We are out.